For this first example, we have a finance inbox automation example, where we're going to have Zenphi monitor a shared finance inbox. Within the trigger, you're able to select which email you wish to monitor as well as set conditional runs. That way you can easily choose when you want your flow to run. We will proceed to retrieve the first attachment, in this case only the first PDF document. You can use the filters, you can group. Here we're using this filter to be able to only retrieve the PDFs. And then we're going to go ahead and use the power of AI. Now within Zenphi we have different AI actions. If you want to use Gemini like I'm doing here, or if you want to use OpenAI or DeepSeek, we have different options depending on your preference. You can use your own API key, you can use Zenphi's. And we're going to be using AI to be able to classify the documents into different categories. So we have invoice, receipts, purchase orders, as well as unknown. Just in case it's not able to classify a specific document, it can be sent for manual review. Feel free to modify the prompt and the system instructions to make sure that AI appropriately extracts whatever you're looking for. Now, depending on the document type, we want to make sure we save it to the correct folder. So here, depending on if it's an invoice, receipt, purchase order, or unknown, it's going to follow a different branch. So let's say it's an invoice, it's going to be saving it into our Invoices folder using our save file action. That way, as soon as the file arrives into your inbox, it's automatically saved after being categorized. And we're doing the same process for each branch, except in this case, when it's saved to unknown, we have a folder called to be classified. And then to ensure that nothing slips through, we're going to make sure that we notify the appropriate people. So in this case, I'm using the post message action for Google Chat. However, you can notify them via email, you can notify them via Slack. Here we can send the notification to a specific space or through a direct message. So here we're notifying the accounts payable team. For the receipts, we're notifying finance. So you can choose who gets notified depending on the type of document. But what happens when the file hasn't been able to be classified? We can send a task to be able to have someone manually review it. So this is our assign task action. You can set up reminders, you can set up expiry, and here we can add all of the information. So we're basically letting them know where the file has been saved. We're adding a file link here, the file name, the original subject. That way they're able to classify the file, move it to its appropriate location, and afterward complete the task. What this is going to do is ensure that even if AI can't classify the file appropriately and move it to the correct folder, it'll still be taken care of by someone on the team. Keep in mind that Zenphi is very customizable, so if you want to take it one step further, you could change the assigned task to request data, have a form where they can select from different categories, have Zenphi automatically save the file to the appropriate category depending on their selection. You can also use the Google Drive trigger to be able to start a new process as soon as a file arrives into this to be classified folder. So there's a variety of things that you can change or add to this specific process. Next, we will be going over an invoice processing example. We're going to be using the Google Drive trigger previously mentioned. This way, Zenphi is going to be monitoring a specific folder that you select. So as soon as a file arrives into this folder, it'll automatically start your process. We're going to be using AI once again to be able to extract fields from an invoice. Here you can indicate what fields you want to extract and what format, etc. Now here I've also indicated that if something can't be found, to leave as null, just to make sure that AI isn't making information up on the spot if it's not able to find it. Now here we have two different branches that the flow can take. This is going to depend on if a purchase order number was able to be extracted using AI or not. So to be able to do this, what the flow is going to do is check and see if the purchase order number that it found is null or not. And if it's not, it's going to go to our spreadsheet and look for that specific value that it found. If it finds one, let's say this one, it's going to return the entire row. If it's not able to find the value, it's going to send it for manual review. You can add as much information as you want. Here I'm adding the information that was extracted via AI. And after they complete that, what I'm going to do is move it to the appropriate review documents folder, since this has already been reviewed by the team. However, if a value was found, we're going to check if all of the values match. To do this, I have set different conditions, checking if the purchase order number matches, the vendor name, the total amount. You can add more fields here if necessary. If they do match, I'll go ahead and move it to the reviewed folder, and then update the status in the Google Sheet to matched. However, if a discrepancy was found, we want to make sure that we change the status to discrepancy found and then send a task for someone to be able to review what the issue was. Keep in mind that AI can make mistakes, so we just want to make sure that we take into account when it's not able to appropriately extract the values. Here we're adding the values that were found with AI, as well as a link to the purchase order sheet. And then after they complete the task, when they have updated the appropriate values, we can go ahead and move the file. And like previously mentioned, if you want to make any changes, if you want to notify them via Google Chat instead, if you want to have a multi-approval process, you can also do that. Keep in mind you can change as many steps in this process as fitted for your specific process. And now for our final flow, we're going to be using AI in a different way. We're going to be using Zenphi's AI assistant, Zaya, to be able to create an expense approval reimbursement flow. So we're going to go ahead and use plain English to be able to tell Zaya exactly what we wanted to do. So here we have this section. We'll go ahead and enter what we wanted to do. Okay, so here I have indicated what I want the flow to do. I want an expense reimbursement flow that starts with a form where employees can add their information as well as their receipts. Their manager is then notified to approve the expense, and if approved, it'll move on to the finance team for payment. The outcome of each task should be notified to the requester. So we'll go ahead and click submit, and then Zaya may take 30 to 60 seconds to be able to create your flow for you. It might ask you some qualifying questions as well, just to make sure that everything is just as you want it. When Zaya is finished, you'll need to replace the invalid connection. So this one, for example, is to be able to find the employee's manager. So we'll update the connection here, click save. Same thing for email to be able to notify the requester and the finance team. Go ahead and submit, and then next, next, and then import. Now if we look at the flow designer, we can see that Zaya has automatically created the flow for us, as well as a form. To the left, we have a description of what was built out. If we take a look at the Zenphi form, we can see it added all of the different prompts here where they can indicate their employee email, expense amount, description, etc. They can even upload receipts. So all of this was automatically built out. We have the task here for them to be able to approve. We have the notifications here. But let's say we want to change the notification for the finance team to a task instead. Zaya is easily able to modify your flow, so here I can indicate I'd like to change the notify finance team action to be a task. And if that is approved, only then will the requester be notified it was approved, else they will also receive a rejection email. So I'll go ahead and send that so it can make its changes. Once it makes the changes, all we have to do is replace any connections if needed. We can import, accept, and we can see that has generated the new flow. So now here we have another task as well, not only the manager's task, but also the finance task. And now what's great about this is now you have the base for really good flow. If you want to add or remove steps, you can do that. If you want to make any modifications, like let's say you want to go into one of the tasks and you want to maybe change the sender display name, you want to change the text in the email body, you want to add any attachments, you can easily do that, but it's a lot quicker now. And if you have any questions, you can also ask Zaya asking why it built out something in a certain way, if you wanted to modify another step. So it's very simple and it makes building flows a lot faster than it already was.